Hey everyone, today we are going to discuss about graph plotting. We all know कि हमें graph plotting के basis पे काफ़ी सारा data visualization में help करता है, right? Graph plotting का primary use ही उसका graph plotting का data visualization होता है. And this is actually not some random example. This is actually one from my physics lab course. You might actually have one as well. So ये उसी का data plotted है and this was an assignment which I did several months ago, I must say, but I actually had it saved and I yet use it. I must say that you can actually, it's not necessary that you need to write every single line of code. You can actually work out with basic AI as well. I mean, you should not just directly type out the way I did. It's not a guarantee that you get it correct. I mean, for example, I just used AI to get this code. बट अगर आप इसको कॉपी करके अपने नॉर्मल पाइथन पे रन करना चाहेंगे तो ऐसा नहीं होगा क्योंकि इसमें काफ़ी सारी कमांड्स हैं जैसे कि ये कमांड है ये गूगल कोलैब पे ही स्पेसिफिक है और ऑफन इट्स वेरी कॉमन टू हैव एरर्स in the code generated by AI. In fact, I have done things like I have taken a code from AI, I have typed the code back, copied and pasted it back, and asked AI to find the error. So yeah, you can do such laziness, but you at least need to know what is correct. So if you want to really uh, change things, if you want to update things, you should be able to customize things, right? And आपको आना चाहिए customization. And that is what I'm going to do now. Let's go over here and let's first discuss what is it all about. Uh, so we have a Matplotlib library, which can be simply imported as this command Matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, and we can plot several things with it. Now here are a bunch of data points, and we just want to plot them at x-axis and y-axis. So the way you go ahead is mainly ignoring these labels. I'll come to that. I'll come to them. This is the main line which plotted the graph. PLT dot scatter x comma y. So scatter basically stands for scatter plots, which means that we are just randomly putting in the points, not randomly, but we are just putting in the points. हमने कोई line draw नहीं करी, हमने कोई bar graph draw नहीं करा, हमने कुछ नहीं करा, हमने सिर्फ points रखे हैं graph पे. तो this is known as scatter plot. And इसमें आपको कुछ नहीं करना पड़ता. X coordinates और Y coordinates जो वैल्यू आप पहले देते हैं, remember, वो पहले आती है. पाइथन को नहीं मालूम कि x क्या है y क्या है. ये तो हमने हमारे इजीनेस के लिए किया है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं यहाँ शुरुआत में y दे दूँ और बाद में x दे दूँ तो पाइथन वुड इंटरप्रेट इट एज बीइंग कि हम इससे कह रहे हैं कि जितने भी पॉइंट्स हैं सारे आई गेस डोंट काउंट, आई हैव नॉट काउंटेड इट, बट जितने भी पॉइंट्स हैं उनमें से जो x या y जो पहले ये सारी वैल्यूज ये पहले x एक्सिस पे उनको प्लॉट कर देगा और जो दूसरी वैल्यू है ये उनको y एक्सिस पे प्लॉट कर देगा. दैट्स हाउ पाइथन इंटरप्रेट्स थिंग. सो अगर आप देखेंगे तो उल्टा ग्राफ प्लॉट हो जाएगा because Python doesn't know कि what is x axis what is y axis, right? उसके लिए ये सिर्फ दो वेरिएबल है. मैं इनका कुछ और नाम भी रख सकता हूँ. मैं इसका k नाम रख सकता हूँ, इसका g रख दिया है, इसका k रख सकता हूँ, and then I can still plot it. It's not a restriction, and that is obvious as well. It should work, and it's working. We just use x and y for our convenience. Python doesn't know what the difference between any variable. It doesn't know what x axis and y axis means, right? It's just looking at the syntax that we get. So, then we have this plt.scatter through which we can plot. There are other ways as well, which I'll discuss. And another way as well, which is plt.ylabel. So basically, you want to label the y-axis, and that's how you go. So force and y is to 10 to the minus 2. So this is the y label, this is the x label. This is okay, so this is a special command. I actually wanted to not just plot the points but also name the points. I mean, also label the points with the values they have. So that is exactly what has happened over here. Uh, because otherwise labeling is difficult per point. So that's how you do it. This is a code I actually copied and pasted from the internet, and that is what I want you to do as well. I just don't want you to like refer to hundreds of books and remember everything. Frankly speaking, I do not remember this. मुझे अभी भी इनफैक्ट याद नहीं है मैं अभी इसे पढ़ रहा हूँ. You need to understand it, but after a point you are bound to forget it. क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं अगर आप लगातार प्रैक्टिस में नहीं है तो you will forget it. You won't forget but the basic things. You won't forget PLT dot scatter में पहला x होता है बाद में y आता है. That is something that you should remember, and that is the logics of the code is what you should remember. The syntax of the code, most of it you will forget. I just managed to forget this thing, these two lines, the way you label the points. So it's okay. You can forget them. No point in fact remembering them. You need to just understand the logic. So if you know the logic, you can do it, right? So now this is not the only way you can plot the graphs. Python again takes in a variety of inputs. It can even take in a data frame. It can take a lot. It can take in a lot of things. For example, basically this is again the same thing. This is again a graph. To plot. Okay. I don't. This was I guess actually the case in which you have a pulley, two pulleys, and you actually have a wire, a friction, non-frictionless pulley. You actually have this, and you basically can compare the tensions because the a number of the angles that you have actually. So the more the angle you have, the more the ratio increases exponentially. You'll know it probably when you do it, and maybe you already know it if you were a JE aspirant as well, like me. Uh, so yeah. This also again plots the same graph and in pretty much the same way. And you can have your own data points too. And I'm pretty sure that if you have a physics lab course, you are going to do experiments and you're going to get data and you need to plot it. And let's move on to some other types of data plotting and data collection as well. Sometimes you need to import a CSV file. Yeah. So you need to import a CSV file. CSV stands for comma separated values.
So here I have a case of Excel file. Your data can also be stored in Excel file like this one. And here I'm going to use an Excel file. And I will also try to do something which we have never done before. That is a curve fit. I'll go into details of curve fit later in the lecture because it is something which requires a lecture of its own. So yeah, I will show you, but I won't go into the details. So because it is something that will transfer further to the future. So this is a data, and as you can see, this is long data set. It has thousands of columns because this is actually data that has been measured over time and over, I guess, course of several seconds or minutes, several minutes actually. So yeah, it's impossible for us to really plot it. So what we do is, as you can see over here, we have uh, a command which we call as tf pd.read excel, which stands for finance.read excel. And inside this, you give the source address, where you, through which you can get to the address that has been provided. So you really need to be very careful while you click the send, because if you make a mistake, then you won't be able to identify. And you also have several variables that you can actually extract. So I knew what each column in my data meant, and I have imported the same thing. And when I try to plot it, I can simply use. T T. This gives you a plot. It's really better in the reverse model. Time is in this axis and amplitude is in this axis. And you can see it here. And of course, we can also adjust the size. Size can be set as just 0. Yes, it's much easier to visualize now. Another set is for point. I would better. Yes, with a certain name is better. Yes, this is much better. And with me, you also get access to whatever files is in accessing. So we see the top and the bottom of the data. So just to give us a brief of how the data frame looks like. And so basically, what we have done over here is you can do anything with a data frame. Now it's not only data frame, and we know how to deal with the data frame, right? We have already discussed it in a previous lecture. How can we deal with the data frame? And uh, read Excel basically has just done one thing, that is conversion of data type. Over here, I have a way of actually plotting using this sitting curve, which basically involves a lot of things. We basically try to have a function and then we try to guess this function. So I know the kind of function this has. We all know that it is an exponential decay and and so possible for harmonic motion and some constants must be involved in. I gave it a guess value. We try to fit it and there are a lot of variable declared, etc., because you do need value reportable values. You do need them. You don't only just need the values, you also need standard deviation because any measurement without the idea of standard deviation, without the answer idea of error is useless. In any scientific experiment, you do need the data, right? So this is precisely the data with its standard deviation so that you know the accuracy. So this is quite a beautiful fit. The bluer lines that you see over here is basically our data points, and the orange line is the fit, the line that has been plotted by these parameters, which we have tried to extract these parameters. Yeah, so this is another case of a CSV file being used. The last time we used an Excel file. So this is a CSV file, and in this CSV file, we basically have two columns. Actually, we have several columns. But those columns, this is actually a squirrel consensus. Yeah, so you heard that right. This was a squirrel count session that several volunteers had in YC. I don't know what their plans up to, but they were counting squirrels all over the New York Central Park, and they managed to find the location of each squirrel that they tagged. They noted the color, they noted the health, age, and several other stuff about them. But the most important one which I found was they also mentioned the location of each, the coordinates of each squirrel that they found. And so this was actually the first column was actually the x-axis, and the second column was somehow the y-axis. I tried to put it out. So this is again the we have another import CSV is an important criteria. Because CSV is so popular that you know you basically import it. You have a separate library for it in Python. So you use this command pd.read CSV, and now as usual we have made it into a normal data frame. I can actually print the data frame for your convenience. I'm pretty sure it will be horrible. So this is how it looks like. So we have the x coordinates, y coordinates. We have the unique squirrel ID. We have hectare, shift, date, hectare, squirrel number, age, primary for color, highlight for color, cooks, squaws, moons, tails, flags, and so much more. I don't even know what these things means, but I don't care. This is a session about learning Python and not squirrels, but this was actually an interesting research done. And, anyways, let's go back to the topic. Uh, so yeah, we have taken the columns from the x-axis, the y-axis. We have extracted them and put them into these two variables, and then we have successfully plotted them. IPLT x comma y is equals to 1, which implies size equals to 1. We have labeled x column x and y column, and that is basically it. We don't have a lot of complications over here. This is an important point that we are trying to. This is sometimes important command that we use. Plt.show sometimes it doesn't show up on the screen. So there are two commands that I haven't discussed so far. That is plt.grid, which allows us to put a grid, as you can see over here, uh, into the picture, and also another plt.show, which sometimes this doesn't pop out. I mean, if I remove this, right, still, yeah. So it's still game, but it in some cases it doesn't. So especially like I guess in Google Colab and things, it doesn't come out. So you may be obliged to use this one. So you now you use this one and everything works fine. And yeah, that is pretty much it.